Pulp Fiction, 1994. An early morning discussion between Honey Bunny, Amanda Plummer, and Pumpkin, Tim Roth, a young couple, about the advantages and disadvantages of robbing liquor stores vs banks takes place in the Hawthorne Grill on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. Then they factor in eateries after learning they can make more money by stealing clients' wallets than they do from the cash register. The two stand up in their booth, share a kiss, and announce that they are robbing the restaurant. Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta's characters Jules Winfield and Vincent Vega arrive to an apartment complex in the San Fernando Valley earlier in the day. They are hitmen working for Marcellus Wallace, and they've come to take back a precious item from a group of would-be thieves led by a young, gullible man named Brett, Frank Whaley. They take the priceless object back. It is kept in a briefcase, glows brightly, and mesmerizes everybody who sees it. Before he and Vincent put Brett to death, Jules recites Ezekiel 25:17, which he claims is a verse from the Bible. Story number 1, Marcellus Wallace's wife and Vincent Vega. Marcellus Wallace, Ving Rhames, hires boxer Butch Coolidge, Bruce Willis, to stage a match in his strip club. Even though they just returned from the valley, Jules and Vincent are dressed in exercise clothes instead of the suits they were wearing earlier in the day when they arrive. Vincent visits the pub and runs into Butch as Jules goes to the men's room. The men quickly grow to dislike one another. Before Butch can respond to Vincent's slur, Marcellus calls Vincent over and embraces him. Vincent is tasked with entertaining Marcellus' wife Mia, Uma Thurman, before he leaves town that evening by taking her out to dinner. Vincent is concerned because there are rumors that Marcellus severely hurt another associate, Antoine, who he thought had been inappropriately friendly with Mia. He stops by Lance, Eric Stoltz, his drug dealer, and purchases some premium heroin before picking up Mia. He takes Mia, a cocaine addict and chain smoker, in a properly drugged state to Jack Rabbit Slim's, a West Hollywood restaurant with a 1950s theme. Following some banter about visiting Europe, Mia's unsuccessful acting career, getting foot massages, and the allegations about Antoine, which Mia debunks, Mia signs herself and Vincent up for a dance competition. The twist dancers receive a trophy. They head back to the Wallace's house after dinner. Vincent visits the restroom to convince himself not to approach Mia. She finds the baggie of heroin in his coat pocket in the meantime, and thinking it was cocaine, she snorts part of it. She quickly collapses and starts to sputter. In a panic, Vincent rushes Mia to Lance's house, where they quarrel over what to do with her. Vincent takes Lance's instruction and administers a shot of adrenaline directly to the heart to help her get back to life. Mia goes home with Vincent. They both agree that it would be bad for them both to inform Marcellus what happened. The Gold Watch, second tale. Before his battle the next night, Butch had a dream about something that happened to him when he was young. Captain Coons, Christopher Walken, paid a visit to Butch in 1973 at his Tennessee home to deliver a gold watch. Butch's great-grandfather had worn the watch when he traveled to World War I. It had traveled to Vietnam with Butch's father and to World War II with Butch's grandpa. Butch's father passed away while a POW but left Coons the watch to give back to Butch. According to Coons, in order to keep the watch out of the hands of their captors, he and Butch's father had to bury it in their rectums. With his hand, Butch lifts Coons' watch and takes it. Butch awakens from the nightmare. He fights so viciously that he kills his opponent rather than throwing the battle, off-screen. He staked Marcellus' money on himself, and if he wins, he will have made a sizable fortune. Butch strikes up a conversation with Esmeralda, Angela Jones, the cabbie he is riding with, and she discloses that she is aware that he is the boxer who murdered his opponent. Esmeralda appears particularly interested in the subject of death. After leaving their flat, Butch and his French lover Fabienne, Maria de Medeiros, are sleeping in a shabby motel, which Esmeralda drives them to. They will leave the country in the morning after traveling to Butch's hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee, to collect their riches. Butch's most prized possession, the gold watch, was forgotten as Fabienne was leaving the following morning. Butch borrows Fabienne's car to fetch the watch after having a violent outburst in which he destroys the television in the motel room. He parks a few blocks away and, out of caution, walks through a vacant lot to his apartment building. Without incident, he enters and discovers his watch in the room's bedroom. When he sees a submachine gun in the kitchen, he realizes he is not alone in the flat. Butch shoots Vincent with the gun he found, catching him off guard as he exits the bathroom. He wipes his fingerprints off the gun with a tissue and walks out of his apartment. With his watch in hand, Butch exits the apartment and sees Marcellus crossing the street. Marcellus is injured as he attempts to run him over with his automobile, and the man himself is struck by another vehicle. Marcellus pursues Butch inside a pawn shop as they are both hurt. They are subdued by the property's owner, Maynard, Dwayne Whitaker. There, bound and muzzled, Marcellus and Butch awaken in the pawn shop's basement. Maynard had spoken to his security guard relative Zed, Peter Green. According to reports, Maynard and Zed are a pair of redneck serial killers who murder bystanders who enter their establishment. Butch, Maynard, and Zed are taking Marcellus into the hospital as the Gimp, Stephen Hibbert, a large man-child covered from head to toe in black leather fetish attire, stands by and observes. Butch successfully dismantles the chair and ropes confining him and knocks the Gimp out. With plans to abandon the pawn store and Marcellus to his fate, Butch experiences a moral crisis. He buys a samurai sword and saves Marcellus, but not before Maynard and Zed are killed by a shotgun blast fired by Marcellus. Marcellus stays behind to watch Zed be tortured and then executed. "I'ma get medieval on your ass," he warns him, but he makes a vow that he will forget Butch betrayed him in the ring as long as Butch never discloses what occurred and never comes back to Los Angeles. Butch concurs. Zed's chopper-style motorcycle, Grace, is used by Butch and Fabienne to depart the city in the closing scene. Story number 3, The Bonnie Predicament. In a flashback from 3 days earlier, a gang member, Alexis Arquette, who Vincent and Jules were unaware of, emerges from the bathroom where he had reportedly been when Jules and Vincent entered and discharges a sizable pistol directly at them. Brett had been killed for stealing Marcellus' prized possession. All of the shots, however, miss Vincent and Jules and strike the wall behind them, causing them to retaliate and murder the gang member. Jules is positive that what happened was a result of divine intervention, but Vincent disagrees. Marvin, Phil Lammer, Marcellus' inside guy in the gang, is accompanying them as they leave. Jules keeps insisting in the car that what occurred in the flat was a miracle and that he is leaving Marcellus' group. Intentionally shooting Marvin in the head, Vincent reaches over the front seat to inquire about his belief in miracles. Blood and brain tissue are now all over the interior of the automobile. Jules drives to the home of his lone buddy in the valley, an old co-worker named Jimmy, after becoming enraged at Vincent's clumsiness, Quentin Tarantino. Before his wife Bonnie returns from her night work at a hospital, Jimmy grudgingly agrees to let them store the automobile in his garage but demands that they dispose of the body within an hour of his agreement. Jules explains their situation to Marcellus over the phone when he answers. Winston Wolfe, Harvey Keitel, a slick and competent cleaner who resolves issues, is then called by Marcellus. Wolfe shows up at Jimmy's house and instructs Vincent and Jules on how to dispose of the car and body at a secret friend's junkyard called Monster Joe, whose daughter is Mr. Wolfe's girlfriend. They have to take off their suits, be sprayed down with a garden hose, and wear Jimmy's extra t-shirts and shorts, which explains their attire at the strip club. Jules and Vincent go to get breakfast at the Hawthorne Grill once everything has been sorted, where they continue their conversation about miracles. Jules explains his intention to quit his life of crime and journey the world as a mendicant, aiding those who are oppressed. Vincent makes fun of him and then leaves the room because he is sad that his friend and partner is departing. At that precise moment, Honey Bunny and Pumpkin from the prologue start robbing the diner. They frantically gather the money from the register and the wallets of the customers. When Pumpkin tries to seize Marcellus' briefcase, Jules pulls his gun and disarms him. Jules then gives Pumpkin his wallet. Honey Bunny is being held by Vincent as Jules tells Pumpkin how he would have killed Pumpkin and Honey Bunny earlier that morning without giving it a second thought. He says this while standing in the bay. He repeats his fictitious reading of Ezekiel 25:17, the sins of the self-centered and the oppression of bad people surround the way of the virtuous man. He is indeed his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children, so blessed is he who leads the weak through the valley of the shadow of death in the name of charity and goodwill. And those who try to poison and kill my brothers will be dealt with by me with severe vengeance and raging anger. And when I exact my vengeance on you, you'll realize I'm the Lord. Jules reveals that although he formerly felt it was nice to have such a cold-blooded paragraph be the last thing his victims heard, he now understands that the phrase tyranny of bad men pertains to him and he now desires to change for the better. He and Vincent consent to Honey Bunny and Pumpkin taking the briefcase but not the money. They themselves leave the diner and go to Marcellus nightclub.